With a business, some businesses, in fact, most don't have any collateral attached to them. And so those businesses can be really risky to lend on. So it's fine to lend in small amounts with the understanding that you're getting your money back based on certain criteria. But when it comes to larger dollar amounts, I really look at investing in businesses as a risky, especially startups. I look at that as a very risky proposition, especially if they have never. In fact, I will tell you this: do not invest in a business that hasn't made money yet. I've got some friends who actually are doing startups, but they have really proven track records in their industry. So to go and do it on their own now makes sense. So for them, like that would be a good investment if you understand the industry and you're able to ask the right questions. So one of the reasons you would want to lend on a business is because you understand the industry. You know the person really well. You know what they're looking to do and what they're looking to create. You know what the costs are, what the ROI is, and you may be able to adjust and help them in the process if you find that there's something they're weak on. So investing in those types of deals could make sense. But for the most part, I would say that if you've never invested in that business before, no is probably the right answer. That generally speaking, that's a very general assumption. And so I want to be very careful when I say that by pre-framing it with, welcome back to Be the Bank. This is for passive real estate investing. We do it every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Gualter Amarelo, the real estate mentor. I invest in real estate because I understand real estate. I passively invest in real estate because I also own real estate and I've been involved in those deals. Not only do I lend, I am also a borrower in real estate. So I understand both sides of the transaction. Darina asked a great question. Her question was, could I invest in businesses or could I invest in real estate? And why would I do one over the other? And what I was just telling her is you've got to understand it. You've got to understand the business. If you don't understand it, don't invest in it. Just like Warren Buffett says, he doesn't invest in something he doesn't understand. Hence the camera, if that makes sense. You've got to understand the investment before you go and invest in it. Awesome. So lending is an opportunity to make money without putting any effort in. Darina asked another question before we got started. She asked, why would I lend instead of doing a deal? Or should I do a deal or should I lend? Which would make the most sense? Lending is for no work. Doing deals is for maximum return. So you do a deal because you're willing to put some effort in, you're willing to manage a project, you're willing to acquire real estate or build your own business, and then you invest in your own business. I want to say this since we are recording, my biggest suggestion, if you have not earned $10,000 to $50,000 in your business, is to go and reinvest in your business. Before you think about real estate, before you think about lending and notes, go and build your business first. Invest in the assets, invest in the skills, invest in the coaching, invest in the marketing, especially the marketing and any assets that would bring you to the next level. If you're a landscaper, you should own your own equipment. If you're a moving company, you should have a truck. Right? These are investments that you can make so that you can go and do more business. Hence, Karen, if that makes sense. So invest in yourself, right? Knowledge, and then invest in your business and invest in marketing in your business until you've got enough money where now you've got an excess and you can't invest in your business anymore. If you get to the point where your business is so big or it's at the point where it's throwing off so much extra cash flow, now is the time to diversify into notes, which could be other people's businesses in the same industry you've been in, or it could be in real estate. And lending real estate, I like because I've been in it for a long time, as I said when we started. And the other reason I like it is because you're backed by real estate. You've got collateral. You've got an asset you could take if the loan doesn't get paid. With a business, the business generally, especially startups, which is how Darina's question started, the business is generally people who don't have assets, right? If they're borrowing, like what does the business have? Does it have a truck you could seize? Okay, now you've got something, you get some of your money back. Or if it's just computers and a couple of chairs and desks in a lease, there's no collateral in that business. So you have to be very careful with what you're lending on. So collateral is number one. There's got to be something you can lend against. Two, is this person going to make money on the deal? When we're looking at real estate deals and I'm going to lend, I want to make sure that the person I'm lending to is there to make money, that they're set up to make money. If they're buying a house for $350,000 and the ARV is $400,000, I'm not going to lend on that deal. There's no chance they're going to profit. In fact, they're probably going to lose money. They'll probably lose 40 to 50,000 just on renovations. Hence, I can't, if that makes sense. We understand that the deal has to make money. Don't lend on something that doesn't make money. I cannot stand personal loans. I deplore them as a financial instrument. Lending money to family doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make dollars, but it does create a lot of issues. Now, if you're in a situation where you care about your family and you trust them and you know them, look, you can lend. I'm just not going to call that a financial investment. Hence the can, if that makes sense. It's just not an investment. That is money out there for charity, for goodwill, to keep your family going and growing. As far as your investments that would make sense, having the collateral and having an understanding in the industry, and then having a good relationship with the person you're investing with. Never invest with a stranger. Make sure that you know, like, and trust this person. And the best way to do that is some research. I would say that 70% of a deal is the person. 30% is the deal. But 70% of any lending that you do has to be based on the person. That's why banks go and double check your last 2 months of statements. They double check your last 2 years of W-2s. They check your social security number. They check your credit. They want to make sure that you're still employed, and they want to make sure you have experience in doing what you're doing. If a bank won't lend to a borrower, make sure that you're figuring out why. Make sure you ask if they've gone to a bank before. Security of your money has to be your number one top priority. Your number one top priority is not making money. Your number one priority is security of your money, making sure that your money is safe. That's what collateral is for. That's what investigating and doing your background check on the person is for. Now, once you've done these little pieces, now you can, and you've evaluated the deal, you know it's a good deal. Now you can move forward with the paperwork. And this was kind of what I wanted to mention for Rick Brand, because he just jumped on and he's new to lending, but he wants to lend. There is a process for lending on real estate. There's a process for lending on anything, but real estate has the collateral piece. You have first position, which means when the house is sold, then you're first to get your money back. Second position, when the house is sold, you're second to get your money back. So if the first note is covered and there's still profit, then the second mortgage is covered. Typically, we don't do third mortgages, third positions. And the second position has the most risk. Most banks will not lend on a second position unless they're doing a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, which is typically a second position on a house. And the reason they'll do this is because it's owner occupied. Most people will stay in their house. But most people they've found in the industry is the people who let go of a property are the people who are investors. Investors have the least motivation to hold on to a non-performing asset. And so banks get very nervous with lending on investment properties. That's why they require the 25% down payment. Hence, Cam, if you've heard real estate investing, you put 20, 25% down, sometimes 30. Yes. So that's because the lender, the bank, knows that they want to have some equity just in case you drop the ball, just in case you walk away from this property and say, I don't want to have it anymore. So understand there's a level of risk. Anytime you're working with investors, there's a higher level of risk than somebody who's just doing a home that they're going to live in. So knowing that level of risk means a deeper relationship with the person. The bank will do all your background check, but they're not going to do too many questions on the person and their experience because you're just buying a house. But when you're investing, they want to know how many years you've been doing this. How many projects have you done? Have they been successful? What were the addresses? So having a little bit of a portfolio, a little bit of a pro forma that you can say, hey, this is all the stuff I've done in the past. And if an investor doesn't have that, then especially in your first loan, my suggestion is walk away. Send them to somebody else who can lend, somebody who is got deeper pockets, been in this for a long time, and has a better judge of character, has curated that. For new lenders, you don't want to work with new investors. Hence, Cam, if you recognize the reason why. They got no track record. They've not proven themselves to be able to successfully do a deal. And so you want somebody who's been successful in deals in the past. And the easiest way to find that is, hey, send me over your portfolio. Send me over your track record. Send me over your resume or your pro forma, things you've done in the past. And if they don't have it, move on. The next one is the attorney. Get an attorney for all of your deals. I know it's easy to write your own promissory note up, and it's easy to go and write your own mortgage note up. And I know that Ron and I, when we first started, that's what we would do. We'd go and write our own promissory notes. We manage it ourselves. And we've never had an issue until last year. We had one mistake on one of our contracts where the borrower ended up, the lender ended up getting an extra 2% out of the entire transaction. So we lost 2% because of something we worded on paper. Fortunately, the borrower, the lender looked at us and said, "Hey guys, you made a mistake." He caught it and he said, "Look, I could, enforce this, but I'm not going to." We had a good relationship with him, and he brought us through to term based on the new contract we put up. Make sure you have an attorney sign and do all your documents. Hands to camera, if you commit, it's worth paying to them. It's worth paying the attorney. Just include it in your fees. Next, that brings me to points. When you do a loan, always include points. That's how you're going to pay your attorney. So I like 2 points. It seems to be industry standard. Some people charge 3 points. Some people charge 4 points. The points are a percentage up front of the entire loan that you're going to get. So if you're lending out $100,000, 2 points is $2,000 in your pocket today. And if you're doing 12% interest, that's 1% every month that you're getting after that. So total for a $100,000 loan held for a year would be a $14,000 return on investment. Hands to the camera if that makes sense. The math is simple. It's not complex. Now, what are the reasons people do it? You have debt and you have equity, and then you have all of the deal, right? That's a combination of debt and equity, what Dorina was asking earlier. When you own the whole project, you're saving your money. So you're not paying the interest for borrowing the money. So that's savings. That could be anywhere between 5 to 12% interest or 14%. And then you have the actual equity in the property. So say this flip's going to make $50,000. You're getting that $50,000. You're saving your, say, $15,000 to $20,000 that you would pay another lender, and you're using your own cash. So you're actually able to increase your profit by doing your own deals. The downside to it, why wouldn't everybody just do their own deals? Well, the downsides are, one, you got to find a deal. That's 1/3 of a project entirely. Just in itself is finding property. Hence, scams recognize that can be work to find a good deal in this market. Yes. The second piece is managing the project, making sure it goes to term, making sure that the project is purchased, making sure it's renovated, sold, and everything is handled and there's a profit involved. That can take 3 to 6 months of anywhere between 4 to 30 hours a week, depending on how you manage projects. That's a lot of time. Hence, again, if you recognize it's tough to manage more than one at a time, it takes more systems. Yes. So it's not super scalable without systems in place and without good deal flow coming through. So you've got the deal and you've got the labor, and then the money piece is what your skill set is. That's what you're able to provide. An intelligent investor can go from making 12% of a deal or 12% of gross cost lent to making 50% of the profit if you become a partner, equity partner in a deal. So without having to go and do the whole project yourself, you're now eliminating 50% of the profit, but you're also eliminating 100% of the work. So some people will go in and be partners, and they'll be equity partners on a deal. In that situation, let's say it was $150,000 loan. So what you stood to make at 10% interest was $15,000 at the end of the year, plus 2 points. You put 2 points in it, and now you're going to make, we'll say it's an extra 3,000. So you're going to make 18,000 at the end of this year by holding this note for a year. That deal goes through, 18,000 in your pocket. If you had an equity position on that property, which means you're not getting your monthly payments and you're not getting your points, but the profit is a $50,000 profit, you've increased what you've made by $7,000. And sometimes these projects go and they're done within 5 to 6 months. So you might not have made that full year term on your money. You'd have to go into a second project to get for the full term. So maybe you didn't make 18,000. Maybe instead you only made, we'll say 10,000. Is that making sense? Because most loans are 6-month loans. That's usually what you're making in hard money. So maybe in the same time frame, you made 25,000 instead of 10,000. You've more than doubled your money by being an equity partner in the deal. Hence, if you recognize equity does make more money. Yes. But it comes with more risk. And that's why most investors, when they start lending, they start with the interest side of things. because they've never really had the experience in property management or project management or flipping real estate. An investor who comes from a massive portfolio or has a lot of experience will probably go to equity and never touch interest, not until they're much later in age when the capital is much higher, where you can make that return without doing any work. There's almost a 60% higher profit margin on equity deals. And then the amount of effort put into an equity deal can be higher, right? If your partner doesn't follow through on certain things, you're exposed to the downside of the project. If the project loses money, that's your exposure. It could be your initial capital. It could be your profit. Whereas if a project loses money, you own the home now. Now you take over the project. You can either rent it out or finish the renovation and make the flip yourself. So there's, on the equity side, a lot more risk. On the debt side, almost no risk. I mean, there's always risk in investing, by the way. This is not financial advice. I'm simply giving information on things that I've done in the past. So if you're looking for lower risk, but that still higher return, that 10 to 14% or 10 to 16% return, debt is great. Go and lend and be a lender. Just be very cautious and careful with who you lend to. Follow the rules, follow the systems. Don't try to reinvent and think, okay, well, I've not done this. I've not done this checkbox or that checkbox. Check everything. Verify everything. If you still feel good at the end, do the deal. Equity, there's a chance to make a lot more money. That's where, it takes, I think that savvy investors prefer equity. Sophisticated investors who know what they're talking about, have been in the business a long time, they're willing to take on the extra risk, because if the project does falter or go sideways, they'll take it over without having to go foreclose on the property. They'll just fill in the gap, make sure the partner's doing right. They'll keep an eye on things. I know Melanie's on the call right now with her husband, Steve. They're doing an equity partnership right now with one of our students in the community. And it's a great deal because they're great investors. If something goes sideways, I know Steve's going to jump into it and make sure that it comes back to life. Mel, is that fair to say? There's a good chance Steve will jump into the project. We can't hear you for some reason. All right, just connecting our audio. How about now, Mel? Can we hear you now? Okay, she's...
Yeah, I had some technical difficulties.
Is Steve there with you?
He's getting gas.
Well done, Steve. Well done. So that's one of the aspects. And for you, Mel, when you look at equity versus debt, which do you prefer?
Equity.
Let's give Melanie a round of applause. Our sophisticated investors know they could jump in the deal. They know how to evaluate the deal. They know how to evaluate the partner, and they're willing to take on the extra risk because they want the higher reward. And for investors who've worked a desk job their entire lives, equity is probably the better way to go. It's easier to get into the process. It's easier to make sure that your money is a little bit safer. And then if you did end up with the house back, you can just take on another partner to go and finish the project. So your profit should stay about the same. Just the process, the litigation side, that's handled by an attorney. I want to open it up now to questions. I talked about a couple of the basics to lending today. And so Rick or who else had a question? Rick or Dorina, did I answer all the questions that you guys had?
I have a sub question. You mentioned that at first you should invest in your business.
Yes.
Whatever it is, maybe buy a truck to make more money or buy a brand new computer if that's what it takes.
Or Melanie's situation, buy a whole new subway.
Sure. So whatever you have to invest in to increase your cash flow. Do you refer to a particular monthly income in order for you to, okay, now I have this consistent income, now I can go to lend the money if I have extra
Very interesting. I like that question.
It's just like for me, I don't really need anything else to buy to improve the income or double it. For me, it's more actions. And I already have a coach. So what, I'm just asking, like, what's my monthly income should be in order for me to, okay, now I can lend.
So it's not necessarily a function of monthly income. It's a function of how much cash is in the bank. So how much do you have in reserves? How much cash is sitting there? If you're sitting on 100,000, I would say that's probably a good amount to start thinking about lending. If you're sitting on less than that, then it's okay, go and build that back up, going back into your business. And for where you're at in your business, you've just got to spend a little bit of time there until you find the right investment there, because your business has so much room to open up. There's quite a bit of room for you to be able to expand and make more money just from marketing. So there's a little bit of marketing knowledge for you to look into where you can make that's probably the best investment for you, is figure out your marketing piece.
So to
Because
figure
you
out,
are diversified. You're in a lot of loans. Like you have equity in South Coast. You have equity. You have a deal with it's a debt deal with one of your partners, and you're in crypto and you're in stocks and you own real estate. You're really well diversified. And I would say your biggest opportunity is increase your income on your business.
so would you suggest for me to pay for like marketing education or something? Or how
The
do
amount
I,
of
like,
the
I'm
amount of
looking to do
education,
spans, like ads spend, but what else?
the amount of education you require right now is minimal. It's not one of those things you have to pay for. Like it's a Google search. You're literally one Google search away from knowing how to spend money on ads.
Okay, so ads.
That would be the highest and best use for you right now. And for most businesses, except for Melanie, it would be the case. If your business is functioning and doing really well, and the reason I exclude Melanie is because Subway pays for her marketing. Subway's already marketing. It's marketing constantly. So she's in a franchise that does the marketing for her. So for her, it's just acquire more businesses. If your marketing is automated and it's doing really well, like hers is, then acquire more of that asset. But for most businesses, their marketing is terrible. They're not getting enough people paying attention.
Okay.
And you have a great business, you have a great product that's saleable, that's scalable. Now it's a matter of getting it in front of enough people where you can make a good return on investment. And the easiest way to do that without becoming an influencer, without going down this path of getting more attention and teaching, is to just pay for ads. Just pay for attention instead of going out and, because you're talking about what do I do with the money, right? What do I do with the money? Take that, put it in ads. That gets the immediate ROI.
Okay, Michael Gabriel, if you're listening.
And that's why I said, like, I don't think you need to pay for a course. You just need to have a phone call with Mike, Google search, and then click the button, right?
Okay, I'll think about it.
You're in a very unique situation with Mike.
YouTube search.
YouTube search, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Let's give Doreen a round of applause. Great questions. And Melanie, thank you for always agreeing with me. I love asking you questions I know that are yeses. I want to open up any other questions on lending, being the bank, what's the right order to go in, wealth stacking, anything along those lines. I'll stay on for the 4 or 5 minutes answering questions. And the other way I'll put that is, what's stopping you from lending right now? Is it information? Is it a deal? Is it knowing how? Go ahead.
Well, since nobody is asking, so we are expecting some sort of correction for the market.
Hell yeah! Bring it on, baby! Bring it on.
We've been expecting for the correction or a crash for the last.
Yeah, since 2015, I've been saying there's a crash coming.
So you really don't know when it's coming, and someone will end up being right. Like I told you, it's coming in 2023. So now, if you are becoming an equity partner or a debt partner in a deal, how do you really predict or at least estimate the after repair value? Do you go with not just 70% on the dollar or even deeper into 65% on the dollar when you evaluate the deal, so you're safe? Or you still, like, I see a lot of investors being super comfortable buying overpriced and still making money. How do you protect yourself in this situation of uncertainty?
Don't be one of them. I like 65.
65.
I love the idea of going 65% on a deal. Anybody who's buying deals at 20%, unless it's a rental property, 80% is fine. You know, we've always done 80% ARV, buy with 20% equity on day one. But no, flips 65%. That we're at the height of the market. Don't get caught with your pants down. If the market drops 20%, having 15% padded profit in there is good. If the market drops 30%, having 5% means you're not losing money. So even though, you know, people are making money, people have been making money the entire, you know, since 2015, I've been calling a crash. I've still been buying real estate, but I buy rental property. I buy cash flow assets. And I'm not concerned if the market drops down. Anything I've bought, I could hold forever. What the house could go down to zero value and I'd be fine. So look at deals that way. What is your second exit strategy? If flipping it in 6 months is exit strategy number one, what's exit strategy number two? Can you rent this out? What strategy would you use? And if you're doing single family flips, you get a house hack. You're gonna have to rent out individual bedrooms, or in some cases you could do a assisted living switch over for the one bedroom, for the single levels. In fact, you can make a lot more money that way. Or you go sober housing. Right? A lot of the sober houses in Fall River are actually single families, which is crazy. You know, because they can't fit as many people in there. They fit 12, 14 beds. So you got a lot of options. Just make sure you have them in line and make sure you buy it at 65% ARV, not 70%.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Let's give Doreen a round of applause. I love it. I'll be on for one more minute. Questions, comments, takeaways, something you learned, something that came up for you that you thought of. Be the bank. Point is not to work, it's to generate income. Awesome. Well then, my friends, I've got a coaching call with Saeed at 6 p.m. And then after that, Dorina, whatever you want to do, I'm all yours tonight. Cheers to your success. When you have a choice, always work with the best.
Bye.
Good seeing you, Melanie. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys Saturday morning, 10 a.m. 52 weeks to wealth. Be there, be square. Go to ibuildmillionaires.com.